You walk into a room and you feel it. Someone looks at you, then looks away, then looks again. Maybe he notices your face, your outfit, your energy. Maybe you can feel the interest, but nothing happens. No approach, no conversation, no hey. Just eye contact that disappears into silence. Have you ever felt noticed but never chosen? Like people can see you, but they still do not move toward you. That feeling is confusing because it is not rejection exactly. It is something stranger. You are being seen, but not reached for. You are being noticed, but not approached. And the reason might be nothing you think and everything you need to hear. Here's the thing. This is not in your head, and it is not your fault in the way you think. You are not imagining the glances. You are not crazy for feeling energy. You are not too much for wondering why nothing happens. Because sometimes people do notice you. They do feel something. They do think about approaching. And then they freeze. Not because you are invisible, but because attraction is not enough. Interest is not enough. Attention is not enough. There are 6 psychological layers to why this happens, and most people never get past the first one. They say, maybe I'm not pretty enough, or maybe I'm not interesting enough, or maybe no one actually wants me. But what if that is not the real story? What if the problem is not your attractiveness? What if the problem is what your attractiveness triggers inside someone else? That is what we are going to talk about. Not tricks, not games, not how to make someone chase you. Just the psychology of why people notice you and still do nothing. And by the end of this video, you will understand one quiet truth. You have more influence than you think. Not control over people, but control over the energy you bring into a room. And that changes everything. The first layer is the intimidation paradox, and it works like this. The more attractive you seem, the more confident you seem, the more someone may assume you will reject them. That sounds backwards, but it is very human, because confidence is attractive. But confidence can also feel dangerous. Not dangerous because you are doing anything wrong. Dangerous because the other person imagines losing. They imagine walking over. They imagine saying something. They imagine you looking unimpressed. And before anything even happens, their brain already feels the rejection. Studies in social psychology show that confident individuals are often rated as less approachable. Not because people think they are arrogant, but because people fear social rejection. The brain reads high confidence as high risk, and when something feels high risk, people avoid it, even if they want it. It's better if someone can stare, but never speak. They may find you attractive, but attraction does not automatically create action. Sometimes attraction creates pressure, and pressure creates hesitation. Have you ever seen someone look at you, then suddenly act like they did not? That little moment matters, because in their mind, they may have already created a whole story. She probably has someone. She probably gets attention all the time. She would never be interested in me. I would just embarrass myself. And none of that came from you. It came from them. Instead of wondering why you are alone in a room full of people, ask this. What story are they already telling themselves about you? Because sometimes you are not being ignored. You are being placed on a pedestal, and a pedestal can feel lonely. People admire from a distance, but they do not always approach what they admire. That is the twist. Being seen does not always make connection easier. Sometimes it makes people more afraid. Now let's go deeper, because this part is emotional. Sometimes people do not reject you. They reject themselves. Before they ever speak to you, they look at you, they feel attraction, Then they measure themselves against you. And in 1 second, their mind says, not enough, not successful enough, not confident enough, not attractive enough, not interesting enough, not ready enough. And then they disappear. You did not reject them. They rejected themselves, using you as the reason. And that is the part no one talks about. Because from your side, it feels personal. It feels like, why not me? What is missing? What did I do wrong? But from their side, it may be completely different. It may be, I cannot handle that risk. I do not want to feel stupid. I do not want to be exposed. I do not want to find out I am not enough. Think about the last time you did not approach someone. Someone you found attractive. Someone interesting. Someone you secretly wanted to talk to. What story did your brain tell you? Maybe it said, he probably has a girlfriend. She probably does not want to be bothered. I'll look desperate. I'll say something weird. This is not the right moment. Exactly. That is the pattern. Your brain created protection and called it logic. And other people do the same thing with you. They create distance and call it timing. They create silence and call it nothing. But inside, something did happen. They noticed, they considered, they felt the risk, and they chose safety. This does not mean everyone who looks at you wants you. Of course not. But it does mean silence is not always disinterest. Sometimes silence is fear wearing a very calm face. Now, we also need to talk about energy. And I want to be careful here, because this is not about blaming you. This is not about saying, smile more. No, that is not what we are doing. This is about awareness. Because sometimes your body says something that your heart does not mean. You may feel open inside, but outside, you may look unavailable. Your face may be calm, but people read it as cold. Your posture may feel comfortable, but people read it as closed. Your eyes may look down because you are shy or tired or overstimulated, but someone else reads it as, do not disturb. A still face, a downward gaze, folded arms, a body turned away, headphones in, fast walking, checking your phone too often, standing slightly apart from everyone. None of this makes you wrong, but it can create a signal, and people are always reading signals. Most of the time, they are not even aware of it. They are asking themselves, is it safe to approach? Will she be annoyed? Am I welcome here? And if the answer feels unclear, many people do nothing. This is not something to fix. It is something to understand. Because awareness alone changes everything. A softer glance can change a room. One extra second of eye contact can change a moment. A small smile can lower the perceived risk. Not because you owe anyone access, but because openness is information. It tells people, you are not walking into a wall. And that matters. If this is hitting close to home, stay with me, because the next part changes how you see all of this. The deepest layer is fear. Not simple fear, not I am nervous, something deeper. Rejection does not feel like a small no to most people. It feels like proof that they are not enough, not attractive enough, not wanted enough, not worth the risk. That is why people avoid it so strongly, because the mind does not always hear, she is not interested. It hears, I am not valuable, and that is heavy. Fear controls social behavior more than logic, more than desire, more than attraction. Someone can want to approach you and still lose to fear, because fear does not ask if you are worth it. It just wins. They may overthink every signal. They may crave connection, but fear rejection intensely. They may watch, hope, wait, analyze, then do nothing. And maybe you know that feeling too. Maybe you have wanted someone to move first. Maybe you acted calm while secretly hoping they would come closer. Maybe you looked away too quickly. Maybe you pretended not to care because caring felt too exposed. That is the mirror moment. Both people can be interested. Both people can be afraid. Both people can be waiting. And nothing happens. Not because there is no attraction, but because fear is louder than the moment. Now let's talk about timing. Because timing is the layer people underestimate. The same person who says nothing today might speak tomorrow. Not because you changed, but because the moment changed. Yesterday he was tired. Tomorrow he feels brave. Yesterday you looked closed. Tomorrow you look softer. Yesterday the room felt crowded. Tomorrow there is a natural opening. Timing is not everything, but it changes the emotional temperature. And people move when the temperature feels safer. Think about this. We live in a world full of people noticing each other, feeling things, thinking things, imagining conversations, and saying nothing. A silent world of missed connections. Someone sees you in a grocery store. Nothing. Someone wants to compliment you. Nothing. Someone feels drawn to your energy. Nothing. Someone hopes you look back. Nothing. And then both people go home, wondering what could have happened. That's why this topic hurts. Because sometimes the pain is not rejection. It is possibility. A possibility that never became real. A doorway that never opened. A conversation that never started. And you are left holding the silence. But this brings us to the one thing that actually breaks this pattern. And it is not what most people expect. Here is the final layer. Attention is not intention. Someone can look at you, notice you, feel curious about you, even feel attracted to you, and still have no intention to act. Because looking is easy, approaching is hard. Looking is safe. Approaching is risk. Looking costs nothing. Approaching costs vulnerability. And human beings choose safety more often than they choose possibility. That is the answer to the open loop. The 6 layers are not really about your beauty. They are about perceived risk, intimidation, self-rejection, body language, fear, timing, and the gap between attention and intention. Together, they explain why someone can notice you and still never come closer. So now comes the important part. The question is never only, why do they not approach me? The real question is, what kind of energy do I want to put into the room? Because you cannot control who approaches. You cannot control who is brave. You cannot control who overthinks. You cannot control who chooses silence. But you can control your side of the signal. You can decide to soften, to look up, to let your attention land, to smile when you mean it, to create one small opening. Not for everyone, not all the time, not because you need validation, but because connection needs a doorway. And sometimes your energy is that doorway. So ask yourself this. Do you want to be someone people only notice, or someone they actually experience? Because there is a difference. Being noticed is passive. Being experienced is alive. People notice beauty, but they experience warmth. They notice confidence, but they experience presence. They notice your face, but they experience your energy. And energy is often what gives people permission to move closer. Breaking the pattern does not take courage in the Hollywood sense. It does not mean chasing, performing, overgiving, or becoming someone you are not. It takes one small move. A glance that lingers, a soft smile, a simple, hey. That is it. One moment of openness, and the whole dynamic shifts. Because sometimes the other person is not waiting for perfection. They are waiting for permission. A tiny sign, a small green light, a reason to believe they will not be humiliated for trying. And again, you do not owe that to anyone. Your energy belongs to you. Your attention belongs to you. Your openness belongs to you. But when you want connection, you cannot only wait to be chosen. Sometimes you choose the moment. Sometimes you make the room safer. Sometimes you become the signal that says, you can come a little closer. So maybe the reason no one approaches you is not because you are invisible. Maybe it is because you are both waiting, both noticing, both wondering, both protecting yourselves. And someone has to move first. Not dramatically, not desperately, just honestly. One look, one smile, one word. That is how silence breaks, and that is how connection begins. If this helped you understand yourself or someone else a little better, subscribe to 1001 Relationship Facts. I would love to have you here. And if you have ever wondered why someone can seem interested at first and then suddenly pull away, watch my last video next. Why men suddenly lose interest. Because that video explains the other side of this pattern. When someone does come closer, but then slowly disappears. And remember, my lovies, being noticed is not the same as being known. So let people experience you, softly, clearly, and on your terms. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.